Welcome to Joey's Tech Friends. In this video, we are going to look into solving another interview question from Leetcode, which is merge sorted array. This is one of the most commonly asked questions that every fresher coder or experienced coder must have in his or her bucket. So without delaying any further, let's look into its problem statement. You are given two integer arrays in this question. The two integer arrays are nums1 and nums2, and the elements in both the arrays are sorted in ascending order. The condition of the question is that nums1 and nums2 should be merged into the array nums1 only, and the merged elements in the array nums1 should be in ascending order. You are thus given two variables m and n. The length of the array nums2 is given by n, and the length of the array nums1 is given as m plus n, of which m represents the number of the elements of the array nums1 and n represents the number of elements that need to be accommodated from nums2. Let's see the problem statement with the help of this example. As you can see, the array nums1 has these elements 1, 2, 3, and finally this array has 3 zeros. Of these, the first three elements, that means 1, 2, 3, belong to this array nums1, and the last three cells that contain zeros are there to accommodate elements from this array nums2. After merging the two arrays, the array nums1 will become like this. Note that the integers are sorted in ascending order. We have to solve this question without using any other array, and the first approach that came to my mind was to simply fill the elements from nums2 into these empty cells with zeros, and then run the sort function, which is going to do the job for us. But we have to solve this problem in on time, so we need to follow some other approach. Let's discuss it then. Now this new approach that I thought of, and you can think of that too, so it's all about assigning three variables, because we will have to do comparisons here. Okay, that is for sure. So I will be the variable that is going to iterate over nums1. So let me put I over here, and j will be the variable that is going to iterate over nums2. So let me put j over here. And with this, I am going to put one more variable, which is k, that is going to track the cells of the array nums1, in which we'll be putting in the array elements. Since these two arrays need to be merged into nums1 only, hence I am creating a separate variable, which will be k. So I and j are for comparison of the values in cells of nums1 and nums2. K is going to keep a track of the cells of the array nums1 in which the final sorted assignment of the element is taking place. We are going to start from the left first to check if it works for us. The variable I represents this cell and the variable j represents this cell. Let's do a comparison between the values of these two cells. So 1 is less than 2. What is going to happen? 1 is going to stay in this cell only. What the algorithm is going to do, the algorithm is going to assign the value represented by I to the cell represented by k. Hence the value is going to stay over here only. After this comparison, I is going to move one cell to the right, and k is going to move one cell to the right as well. Now a comparison will again happen between the values of the cells represented by I and j. Since they both are the same, hence the algorithm is going to assign the value represented by I to the cell represented by k again. So this 2 is going to stay over here only. K will move to the right and I will move to the right as well. Now I represents this cell containing 3 and j represents this cell containing 2. Let's do a comparison again between these two cells. So 3 is greater than 2. So what the algorithm is going to do, it's going to assign the value of the cell represented by j to the cell represented by k. So 2 is going to replace 3. Alright, k will move one cell to the right thus. Okay, that means this cell of the nums1 array needs to be populated now, and j is also going to move one cell to the right while I is going to stay in the same position. Okay, now the comparison is going to be made between the values of the cells represented by I and j. So 2 will be compared against 5. But wait a minute, this cell contained 3. You see, 3 is gone. The comparison won't happen with the right element now. Even if we store 3 in a temporary variable, it will make the algorithm more complicated. So why don't we try the same algorithm from the back of these two arrays then? Let's bring the variables to the back of the array now. Now the variable j is going to start towards the left from the last cell of the array nums2, and k will also start towards the left from the last cell of the array nums1. However, to do the right comparisons, I will start from the last element of the array nums1 and not from the back, because the elements of the array nums1 are till here only. Since we are starting from the back of the array, hence the bigger elements are going to be stored in the back and the smaller elements in the front, because this array needs to be sorted in ascending order. Hence the comparison will be reversed this time. So what's going to happen? 3 will be compared against 6, because 3 is the value of the cell represented by I and 6 is the value of the cell represented by j. Between 3 and 6, which is greater? 6 obviously. So 6 will move to this cell represented by k. Okay. And since 6 has been picked from nums2, hence j is going to move one cell to the left. Now 3 will be compared against 5. Since 5 is greater, hence 5 will move to the second last cell, which will be represented by k. I am sorry, I didn't shift it left. It should have been shifted by me at the end of the first comparison. Since the element has been taken from nums2 only, so j will be shifted to the left and k will also be shifted to the left. Okay, now this cell will be filled. So 3 will be compared with 2 this time. Since 3 is greater than 2, hence the value of this cell represented by I will be populated in this cell represented by k. And at the end of this comparison, I will be shifted one cell to the left and k will also be shifted one cell to the left. Now 2 will be compared against 2. Since they both are the same, hence 2 will be picked from here, from the first cell of the nums2 array, and will be populated in the cell represented by k. So this 3 will be replaced by 2. Alright, j is going to move one cell to the left and I is going to stay here only. Now when the algorithm is going to see that j is representing an index which is less than 0, it's going to stop. It's a signal that the merging of the two arrays has happened and the elements have been sorted in ascending order as well. You can see over here, the elements in the array nums1 are merged and have been sorted in ascending order only. This is the algorithm. So we nailed the whole problem with this approach. Now let's code this program in Java. Now I have already created a class named merge sorted array in my project, and I have already created a main function. I highly recommend that you code this program along with me, because that way you will be able to understand this program in a much better way. The first step that we are going to take will be to declare the two integer arrays. So it will be int square brackets. We are going to call the first array as nums1 only. After the equals to sign, we are going to write new int, and within curly braces we are going to assign this array the elements that we have seen in the slides. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0. All right. Now let's declare the second array, which will be nums2. Now this array will be initialized to the elements 2, 5, 6. Okay. Now let's declare and initialize the variables m and n. M is going to hold the length of the array nums1 and n is going to hold the length of the array nums2. So we are going to write int m equals to nums1 dot length, and then in the next line we'll write int n equals to nums2 dot length. The next thing we'll do is to declare and initialize the variables I, j and k. So we are going to write int I. Now since I is going to start from the cell which is going to contain the last element of the array nums1, hence I is going to be equal to m minus 1. Okay. J on the other hand will start from the last cell of the array nums2. So j will be equal to n minus 1, and the variable k is going to start from the back of the array nums1. So it will be equal to m plus n minus 1. Okay. Now we are going to start a while loop that is going to run till either j is greater than equal to 0 or I is greater than or equal to 0. The moment either I or j becomes less than 0, the loop is going to stop. In our example, we saw j becoming less than 0. So it will be while within brackets, it will be I greater than equal to 0 and operator j is greater than equal to 0. Within the body of the while loop, the first condition that we are going to write will be if the value of the cell at index I in nums1 is less than the value of the cell at index j in nums2. If it is, then we assign to the cell of nums1 represented by k the value of the cell at index j of the nums2 array. So it will be if within brackets nums1 I is less than nums2 j. I forgot to write 1 over here, that's why it's getting red. Now it's okay. And if this condition is satisfied, then we are going to assign to the cell of nums1 represented by k the value of the cell of the nums2 array represented by j. Okay. Once we have done this, we subtract k and j by 1 so that they move left. Okay. And why don't we use a less than equals to operator over here, so that when the values of these two cells are equal, then the value is picked from the cell represented by j from the nums2 array. Now in the else part, it's going to be the other way around. That means when the value of the cell of nums1 array at index I is greater than the value of the cell at index j of the nums2 array, then assign to the cell of nums1 at index k the value of the cell at I of the array nums1. Of course, we are going to reduce I and k again. Okay, so it will be nums1 represented by k equals to nums1 represented by I. Okay, and then we are going to decrement the value of I. Okay, and k. All right, that's it. This completes the loop. Now while submitting this question on the Leetcode website, I came across a use case in which there was given no element in the array nums1. In that case, our job is to only assign to the cells of nums1 the values of the cells of the array nums2. So to counter that use case, we are going to write a separate while loop, and the condition will be j is greater than equal to 0 because there are no elements in the array nums1. So it will be nums1 within square brackets k equals to nums2 within square brackets j. Okay, and then we are going to decrement j by 1 such that it moves to the left, and we are going to decrement k by 1 such that it also moves to the left. All right, this is exactly the same code that we wrote over here, nothing different. Now the final step will be to print the array nums1. Okay, so for that we are going to use a for loop. So it will be for int, let me give the variable as p this time, equals to 0, p less than nums1 dot length p plus plus, and within curly braces it will be system dot out dot println, and within brackets it will be nums1 within square brackets p plus space. Okay, and since we are interested in printing the elements of this array side by side, hence it won't be println. I don't know why I always make this mistake. That's it. The program looks to be complete. Let's run it and check the output. Oh, looks like I have made a grave mistake over here. That is why I'm getting this error, this runtime error, which I hate the most, array index out of bounds exception. So let me see what mistake have I made. All right, I have spotted it. M over here is not going to be equal to the length of the array nums1. It has to be equal to the number of genuine elements present in the nums1 array. So this should be nums1 dot length minus n, and since n has been declared and initialized after it, hence this line of code must appear after the declaration and initialization of the variable n. Now let's run the program again and check if the error is gone or not. And there you go. These are the elements present in nums1. Both the arrays have been merged and the elements appear in an ascending order. Now this is the same output we reached to during our algorithm discussion phase. And don't worry about these two variables, m and n. Don't worry about their declaration or initialization, because when you are going to submit the code on the Leetcode website, they will already be given to you as the function arguments. This concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed learning this problem from Joey's Tech. I hope you coded this problem along with me. I look forward to helping you with programming and algorithms. And only for this video, goodbye and take very good care of yourself.